So now let us discuss how a new embryo is formed in human beings, like how new individual is formed in human beings. Okay, so I have written certain steps like which happens one after another in order to understand it very easily. Okay, so now let us understand these steps one by one. Okay, so the first process, okay, in the production or in the generation of new individual is that the gametogenesis. Earlier only I had told, right, the gametes has to get produced, then only a new individual can be formed. So this is the basic first step in the sexual reproduction, that gametogenesis, nothing but the production. Okay, genesis always refers to generation, right, or the production of gametes. So it is of two types. One is spermatogenesis, another one is oogenesis. So spermatogenesis, the name itself is telling, sperm means the production or the generation of sperms, right? So this happens in testes of a male reproductive system, right? We have already discussed. Right. So next, oogenesis. Oogenesis means generation of ovum. So this happens in a female reproductive system, which is nothing but a ovaries. Right. Yes. So the production of sperms and a production of ovum. Okay. So both are done now. Yes, so the production of sperms and the production of ovum, both are done now. So what is the next step? So next step is that copulation, that a couple has to undergo a sexual intercourse, and then only what happens when the penis is inserted inside this vagina, there is a release of sperms inside this female reproductive tract, right? So that there is a chance that the sperm and ovum can meet, right? So that is the next step, which we call it as a fertilization. So fertilization is nothing but it's a fusion or a process of fusion of male and female gametes, okay, which is nothing but when a sperm, which is a male gamete, when it fuses with the female gamete, which is nothing but a ovum, then we call that as a fertilization, and this fertilization leads to a formation of zygote. Okay, and this is nothing but a single cell living organism. Okay, so nothing but this upon going a mitotic division, it will develop into a new individual. Okay, see, already you are aware of that the sperm and ovum are produced because of meiosis type of cell division, and hence they will be having half number of chromosomes, so we call them as haploid cells. Okay, so the haploid cell, when it combines with the another haploid cell, it leads to a formation of diploid cell. It's like N plus N will lead to a formation of 2N. So here the sperm contains 23 number of chromosomes and the ovum contains 23 number of chromosomes. So together when it combines, it will form 46 number of chromosomes, which is nothing but a human chromosomal number, right? So this is how the fertilization happens. It leads to a formation of single cell, okay, called as zygote. So now you wonder, right, we all were also single cell organisms long ago. Before we became like this, like a human, like a multicellular organisms, we all were also a single cell organism. So life of our also started as a single cell. Okay, so this is about a fertilization, that a sperm will fuse with ovum and it leads to a formation of zygote. So now let us understand here with the help of a diagram. Okay, see, when copulation happens, you are already aware of how sperms looks like they will be having something like this, the head, and they will be having a tail structure. Correct. So with the help of the tail, with the help of the lashing movement of the tails, the sperms which are released in the female tract, right, they will reach, okay, they will reach the egg which is awaiting in the oviduct. Okay, so the egg was released by this ovary and it was taken up by this fimbriae and it was kept here in this oviduct, right? So here the egg which was produced by ovary was taken up by this fimbriae, right? Nothing but it was received by this oviduct, correct? So now your egg is here. Okay, the egg which was produced by the ovaries is here and the sperms have entered the female reproductive part. Okay, so now with the help of their lashing movements of their tail, these sperms will travel through this female reproductive part and they will reach this oviduct. Okay, and here their fusion will happen. So always remember that the site of fertilization is the oviduct. So oviduct is the main site where the fertilization is gonna happen in human beings, in females. Clear, right? So and you should also remember that, see, when a man ejaculates a semen is nothing but it is a combination of sperms plus secretions of the gland from the male reproductive system, right? So during intercourse, during a sexual intercourse or during a copulation, the man will ejaculate a semen and this semen will contain, it's not like it contains only one sperm, okay? It contains up to 100 million sperms. Okay, a single ejaculation of a man will contain up to 100 million of sperms, but always remember again that only one sperm will be capable enough to fertilize a single egg. Okay, so even though they release millions of sperms, only one egg will be fertilizing or one egg will be going and fusing with the ovum. Okay, the ovum is stationary but the sperms are mobile, right? They can travel but your ovum cannot travel. Okay, only it can travel with the help of the other structures, because see, this oviduct has a ciliated structures, that's why it was able to move, okay, from here to here. But the sperms, as they have got a tail, they were able to travel right from vagina to a oviduct. Clear? So the site of fertilization is what? It's a oviduct or a fallopian tube. This you should always remember because it will be asked. Clear? Yes. So now let us go to the next topic or a next step, which is embryonic development. So now the gametes are formed, which is sperms and ovum, right? And then copulation has happened, that the sperms or semen has been ejaculated inside the female tract, and now fertilization also has happened, that the sperms, one of the sperms among these million sperms has went and fused with your ovum in the oviduct. So now what happens next? What will be the next step in this process of producing a new baby? Yes, it is a embryonic development. See, what happens is, after fertilization, a zygote will be formed, right? A single celled diploid zygote will be formed here. So this zygote, okay, so this zygote will undergo continuous mitotic division, which means, see here, there is one cell which is 2n in number. It will keep on dividing in double, like it will become 2 and 2 cells will become 4 and 4 cells will become how much? It will become 8 and 8 will become 16 and 16 will become 32. Okay, so the zygote, which was single cell, it reaches a stage after continuous mitotic division, okay, which has got 32 number of cells. It is like a mass of cells. It will be like a kind of ball. So this 32 celled structure ball, you call that as blastocyst. What do you call it as? You call that as blastocyst. It is just a mass of 32 cells. Okay, something like this. Okay, where it will be having, okay, 32 cells. and this cell, okay, and this mass of cells, which is a blastocyst, okay, it will move across this oviduct and it will come and start, okay, attaching to this wall of uterus. Fine, and this process only we call it as implantation. You understood how embryonic is going to develop, right? With a continuous mitotic division where one cell is becoming 2, okay, 2 cell will become 4 and 4 cell will become 8 and 8 16 and 16 is going to become 32 cells, and it goes on dividing like that, but when it reaches 32 cell stage, it is called as a blastocyst. At this stage, this mass of cells, okay, or a blastocyst will come and start attaching, okay, to the wall of uterus, and this process only we call it as implantation. So what is implantation? It is a process in which a embryo or a blastocyst will get attached to the wall of uterus. And you can also see that the inner lining of the uterus is also called as what? Endometrium wall. I have already told it before, right? And you can also see that how thickened it is, right? So the uterus, in order to receive these fertilized egg or a blastocyst, will start becoming thickening, okay, every month it will start becoming very thick, like up to 10 to 15 times the wall of endometrial walls starts growing, okay, it becomes very thicker and thicker, and also there will be a very good supply of blood vessels, okay, it will be enriched with the supply of blood vessels, because in order to receive this fertilized egg every month, okay, see, when ovulation happens, ovulation means what? The release of egg only, right? So when that happens, I told you before, right, when ovulation happens, the estrogen and progesterone hormones, so called sex hormones in female, will start becoming more, okay, the level of the sex hormones increases during ovulation. Okay, so under the influence of these two sex hormones, the walls or the endometrium walls, which is the inner lining of a uterus, it starts becoming thickening. Okay, in order to receive a fertilized egg, every month it starts becoming very thick. Okay, so just you remember that under the influence of the hormones, in order to receive a fertilized egg every month, the walls of the endometrial wall starts becoming thickening. Okay, and it will be very richly supplied with the blood vessels as well. Okay, yes, so now implantation is done. Okay, the baby or the blastocyst has got attached to the wall of uterus, inner wall of uterus. And now what is the next step? Don't you think baby has to get nutrients, then only it can grow, right? So this special requirement of getting or obtaining a nutrients from a mother's blood is made possible with the help of a special tissue called as placenta. Okay, so this process of formation of placenta, we call it as placentation. Okay, so this placenta is something like a disc-like structure, okay, here, which is embedded within this wall of the uterus. So here it will be having a villi-like structure towards the growing embryo, okay, like this. Okay, and here whatever the gap is there, it is acts as a blood spaces where mother's blood will be flowed over here. So what happens? Whatever the nutrients like glucose, oxygen, or all the required nutrients will be absorbed from the mother's blood, okay, from this villi, fine, and it will be utilized by the growing embryo. Also see, it's not that only the nutritive or the required materials will be taken up by the mother's blood. It is also that, see, it is a growing embryo which is made up of a living cell. So the cells will be carrying out different functions or metabolic activities. So the cells will also produce the harmful substances like unwanted substances like carbon dioxide, urea, correct? So those harmful or unwanted materials also has to get removed from the growing embryo, right? So these unwanted materials will be sent from a growing embryo to the mother's blood, and the required materials like glucose, which is C6H12O6, and oxygen, right? All the required materials are taken up by the mother's blood, and all unwanted materials are given up to the mother's blood, right? How bad we are, correct? We are taking all essential things from our mother and we are giving her a very unwanted substances, right? So that's why mothers are always great, correct? See, they bear us for a duration of 9 months in our womb, correct? So that only we call it as what? Gestation period. Okay, see, in human beings what happens? The baby will grow for a period of 280 days, or in terms of week, if we consider, it is for 40 weeks, okay, or 9 months. Okay, so this period, okay, of a complete growth or a complete development of a embryo inside mother's uterus or inside mother's womb, okay, from a single cell which was zygote till it reaches a complete fetal stage, right? So till that time it grows inside a mother's uterus or a mother's womb. So this period only we call it as a gestation period. Okay, in humans it is 9 months or 40 weeks or 280 days. Okay, yes. So now the last step is the parturation. So parturation means what? Once the baby is completely developed for a duration of 9 months, it has to come out, right? So, or you call it as a childbirth or a delivery. So this process of childbirth we call it as parturation. So now after a complete development of a baby, okay, or a embryo for a duration of 9 months, okay, once the baby is completely developed, the pituitary gland in our brain, okay, in female's brain, it releases a hormone called as oxytocin. Okay, so under the influence of this oxytocin hormone, the uterine walls, okay, it starts becoming contract, okay. Because of this involuntary contraction of the uterine muscles, it is accompanied with a labor pain. Okay, so a woman starts getting a pain, okay, that pain you call it as a labor pain, and it is happening because of the involuntary contractions, involuntary rhythmatic contractions of the uterine walls. Okay, so when this happens, the baby will be pushed towards this cervix, correct? And the ovaries also produces a hormone called as relaxin. Okay, so under the influence of this hormone, the pelvic muscles as well as vagina will widen up, and thus it helps in the easy childbirth. Okay, so this is how, with the rhythmatic contraction and relaxation of the uterine muscles, right, also here with the help of this relaxin hormone, the pelvic as well as vagina also widens up. So this aids in a easy childbirth. So this is how a new baby is delivered. Okay, so if it happens through this vagina only or a birth canal, right, you call that as a normal delivery. So that is how a new child is born. Okay, and also that we all humans have got navel, right, in our abdomen. So what is that? What is that navel? What that indicates? See, that navel indicates that when we were embryos, right, we had a umbilical cord over there. So what is this umbilical cord? So this umbilical cord, which is arising from our embryos, okay, which is arising from our embryo's abdomen, it acts as a link between a placenta and a growing embryo. Okay, I told you before only in this step while explaining the placentation, correct? So the placenta, with the help of special tissue called as placenta, the nutrient materials or unwanted materials are exchanged between mother's blood and a growing embryo. correct? So how it will be connected? With the help of this umbilical cord itself. So from a growing embryo, the umbilical cord, it serves as a link between a growing baby as well as a placenta. So once the child is born, they will actually cut that link, right? And after some days it will dry up and it will fall off. So that navel actually indicates the presence of this umbilical cord when we were like in a embryonic stage. Okay, yes, so that's all about this new individual, how a new individual is formed. Hope you understood this. Hit like button if you understand this topic. Okay, yes, so far what we discussed are all about the steps only when egg, right, gets fused. What if this egg will not get fused? What happens to that egg? If egg is waiting here for the arrival of sperms and there is no arrival of sperms, so the copulation didn't happen, that the couples didn't undergo any sexual activity, so there is no entry of sperms. So then what happens to this released ovum or a released egg? Okay, so now let us discuss about that. What is the fate of this ovum or an egg cell, or what happens to this endometrium wall, okay, if the egg is not getting fertilized? Okay.